I'm sure you've all heard the news by now. Charlie Kirk was officially assassinated. It's just devastating news for all of us. And while there have been many videos made about honoring Charlie's legacy from people that actually knew him, we certainly don't need another video like mine. But what I want to do in this video is to look at the work Charlie did and to understand the impact he left so that we know how to move forward. Right now, we're facing a lot of grievous times. Obviously, he was murdered yesterday, and today is 9/11. So it's very heavy on the hearts of lots of Americans right now, regardless of where you are in the political aisle. My goal is not to make this video political, just to understand how Charlie inspired this generation, my generation, Generation Z, and what he'd want us to do moving forward, because that's what's very important. As we're processing this devastating loss and we're going through the grief and we're just taking in all these emotions at one time, it's completely understandable where people are right now. And I'm still trying to get through a lot of this. We have to look at the landscape that Charlie was starting in, which is around 2012 when Turning Point USA was first founded. Barack Obama was president in 2012. But at this time, there wasn't really an idea of how independent media was going to play a role in influencing political opinion and public opinion for that matter. Charlie engineered that, and no one has ever done it quite like him, and no one will ever do it quite like him. And specifically, as he was going about doing all of his campus tours, he told young Americans that they're not alone in this fight. It seemed as if you had to be in line with everything people were saying. But that wasn't Charlie. See, Charlie defied all odds. He understood that when people were being silenced, that was a time to actually speak up, but not to conform. And he would do it even in the wake of all the persecution that he was facing and that he knew he would face. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 16 is one of the verses that speaks very profoundly to me, because it says, "Behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent like doves." This is Jesus sending out his 12 apostles after he had first gathered them together. And what he told them was the persecution was inevitable, and that they are not going to be prepared for everything that is to come because they won't know what is to come. But they have to face it and understand that this is part of spreading the gospel. And that's exactly what Charlie did. He stood for goodness, truth, and beauty at times when all we saw were ugliness and evil and sadness and all the values that are antithetical to goodness, truth, and beauty. He was the one that told this generation that life isn't indifferent and that the only purpose in life is not just pleasure, which was so often what the mainstream culture told us. For the longest time, we had culture telling us that we could be whatever kind of gender that we wanted, or that we could go and explore a bunch of different drugs, and that we could have free sex outside of marriage, and all these other forms of pleasure that our culture told us would give us happiness. Yet that wasn't fulfilling and is not fulfilling and will never be fulfilled. But things like that will never be fulfilling to any degree because they're not eternal and they do not come from God and are antithetical to God. When Charlie first implanted those kinds of ideals in Generation Z, that's when everything started to change. That's when Charlie's idea of a turning point finally came alive. It was when he realized that there's hope in making an impact in the culture and leaving a legacy on the world that is done to give glory to Jesus Christ. You look at any of Charlie's works, and they seem gimmicky and funny political stunts like "college is a scam" or "what is a woman?" But the reason behind these kinds of funny catchphrases is to point out that there's a big spiritual issue going on in a lot of these places. It's about people that are turning away from God and not finding anything objective and transcendental. Charlie was the first one in the cultural rights to really come up, rise to the occasion, and start to make a difference in a dent in spheres that didn't have much going on. So as we look back at his legacy and all the work he has done, It's very heartbreaking to know that Charlie's not with us anymore. But he would want us to continue Turning Point USA and to continue, more importantly, to fight for biblical ideas and to continue to preach the gospel boldly. See, none of Charlie's work would have ever been possible if he did it on his own terms and not on God's. Romans chapter 5, verse 8 says, "For God shows his love for us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." And that's exactly the kind of heart posture that we need today. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. It's a very hard time to process right now, but hopefully in these moments we can just come together in humbleness and solidarity so that we can move forward and continue to move forward despite all these horrible things that happen in our world. It's just awful that Charlie was taken from us so quickly, but this is the kind of legacy that he'd want us to continue. So it's important that we continue to do that. That's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. May God bless you all.